Greetings and welcome to part 7 of the Trumpet series. This is the Blue Belt using the Essential Element series. This is focusing on pages 21 to 23, numbers 107 to 118. A very short section of the book, but with a lot of cool things there. So let's get right into it. Number 107 is called the flat zone. We have a new note in the orange box. It's E flat. Remember that little B symbol is a flat sign. So you learned E, which is 1 and 2. E flat is valves 2 and 3. You can notice underneath there. It'll sound like this. E sounds like this. E flat sounds like this. That's just a little bit lower. Okay, so here's 107. Notice in the key signature, you have a flat sign on the third line. Every good boy. It means all your B's are flat, which means all your B's are first finger in here. Is called On Top of Old Smokey. This is your first Blue Belt song. Notice in the key signature, you have B flat. So all your B's are going to be first finger. Notice that you have a pickup B. Also notice your time signature is 3/4, which means there's 3 beats in every measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay? So this is On Top of Old Smokey. Turning the page to page 22, we have in the orange box, this is dotted quarter and eighth note. So we've had a dotted half note. Now we have a dotted quarter note. Let's talk about what the dot really means. Before we just said a dotted half note means 3 beats. Well, what a dot does is you take the amount of beats that a note is, you cut it in half, and then you add it to the original value. So what we're going to do is, for instance, the half note. The half note is 2 beats. Cut it in half. You have 1 beat. Add the original 2. That's why you're holding the dotted half note for 3 beats. Say you have a whole note. A whole note is 4 beats. Cut it in half. Add the original 4. A dotted whole note you would be holding for 6 beats. In this case, we have a dotted quarter note, which is 1 beat. Cut that in half. And then you add the original 1. Means you're holding it for 1.5 beats. So you're holding it the equivalent of a quarter note tied to an eighth note. You also, in the orange box, you notice that there is a single eighth note. It's got the little flag drooping down there. So that's 1/8 note when they're not barred with another one. Let's look at number 110, the rhythm rap. We're going to do this one clapping, so you can kind of see how this is going to be. So the first measure is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Oh, the second measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So they're a little different because the first one is just 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. The second measure, you're tying that quarter note to that first eighth note. So instead of 1, 2 and, you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba. Okay, that's how we're going to get that. And then notice the third and fourth measures. It's the same thing as the second measure, except they label it as a quarter note with a dot on it, as opposed to the quarter tied to the eighth. So clapping 110, the whole thing together. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. 110 is the same thing as 111, except 111 is adding some notes to it. One thing I see a lot of kids doing in 111 is they elongate the first note like they're supposed to, but then they add an extra note. They play something like this. add an extra note. But make sure you have it. "113 is the sea chanty, and this is also a blue belt song. Key signature, nothing sharp and flat, which is nice. So that means your B's, middle finger, your F's, first finger. You have a lot of dotted quarter notes in here. Bum, ba bum, 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 bum. Think of big burly sailors. This would be a good time for you overachievers out there. Again, some of you may notice that on my D's, I moved this little slide out. A lot of times, student trumpets in the 4th and 5th, 6th grade level, this doesn't move freely. Like mine, if I just push this valve down, it moves. It's very free. If yours is super free like that, awesome. What you can do is on your D's, and there's another note you'll learn later called low C sharp, 1, 2, 3. You can move this slide out a little bit. It's kind of a subtle difference, but the trumpet is such where some notes aren't 100% in tune. Okay, they don't sound great with other notes. They sound okay, but if you want them to sound perfect, you move this slide out just, about an inch or so for your D and your low C sharp when you get there. It makes it sound a little better. But if your trumpet doesn't move freely, or if it's just too hard for now, I know a lot of you have small fingers, don't worry about that. In fact, I've only had maybe 3 or 4 over the last 6 years of kids by the end of 5th grade that are really using that slide. Should be more maybe, but we're really focusing on that great tone, that great posture, remember feet flat fanny forward, that great diving breath. Those are the things we're focusing on. And intonation, we're going to focus on as we get a little older too. Okay, enough of that. Here is 114 Scarborough Fair. This is the last blue belt song. Notice in the key signature, it's B flat. That means first finger. Notice that all of your E's in here have a flat sign on it, which means your E's are going to be E flat, 2, 3. Also, time signature is 3, 4. Another one that's good to do, if you have some time, is 116, the turnaround. Basically, we've been doing ba, 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 that kind of rhythm, the dotted quarter note, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. But sometimes you're going to see the 8th note come first, so da, 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 okay? 1 and, okay? So 116 is going to utilize that, especially that last measure. If it's New Year's time, you could do 117. I usually skip 118, the theme from New World Symphony. Let's talk about it. It looks weird. It's a whole page for one song. Not really. It's only half a page for your part. The bottom part, it says piano accompaniment. Okay? That means that you could have a piano player play that part while you play the solo at the top. It would sound really good as an ensemble. Again, I usually skip it, but go for it. It's a really pretty song. So that is the blue belt for band karate. Enjoy.